planned, prepped, cooked, cleaned, set the table, arranged the wine, and made sure every single person had their dietary needs met. Gluten-free lasagna for Aunt Carla. Vegan salad for my cousin's girlfriend. The roast chicken Dad still pretends is his favorite, even though he barely touches it. I didn't complain. I just worked, because that's what I always do. The daughter who has a knack for organizing, the woman who just knows how to make things happen. I was in the kitchen for 6 hours, and when it was finally done, I set the platters on the table with a quiet pride. It wasn't perfect, but it was good, thoughtful, made with care. Then Mom walked in, looked at the table, and wrinkled her nose like she'd stepped into a sewer. "We should have just ordered takeout," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "At least that would have been edible." My father chuckled. Not a word of pushback, not even a glance in my direction. I looked around the room. 12 people eating food I made, sitting on chairs I arranged, in a home I cleaned. And not one of them stood up for me. Not one. So I did something I'd never done before. I stood up. I untied my apron. I laid it gently over the back of my chair. And I said, in the calmest voice I've ever used, "Next time, you can all pay for takeout too, because I'm done." They laughed. They thought I was being dramatic. Aunt Carla raised her glass like it was a toast. My cousin snorted into his wine. Even my brother said, "Don't be sensitive, Lena. It's just Mom." But I wasn't being sensitive. I was being done. An hour later, after the wine was poured and the dessert was being picked at, I slipped into the spare bedroom and opened my laptop. I canceled the Airbnb for Christmas. I voided the ski resort booking I made in my name for New Year's. I retracted the deposit on the summer rental. I deleted every calendar invite, every group chat message, every itinerary I'd put together over the past 6 months. I didn't say a word. I just erased myself. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt free. It didn't start with that dinner. It started decades earlier, with a family that quietly decided my usefulness was more valuable than my presence. I was the easy child, not the rebel, not the genius, not the golden son. Just Lena, the one who didn't need much, who always offered help before being asked. When Mom was stressed about holiday hosting, I was 10 and already setting the table just right. When Dad needed someone to coordinate his retirement party, I was 23, juggling a job and still handling invitations, RSVPs, and the speech no one thanked me for. When my brother got married, they called me the backbone of the wedding. I built the timeline, dealt with vendors, smoothed over fights between the bride and Mom. They said, "You're so good at this, Lena. What would we do without you?" They meant it as a compliment, but it wasn't. It was a warning that they had no intention of ever taking care of themselves. Or me. I didn't realize the weight I carried until my 34th birthday. Not a major milestone, not one people usually make a fuss over. But I thought maybe someone would remember. Just a cake, a dinner, a card. Instead, I got a group text message from my mother addressed to the family, asking if I could plan my own birthday brunch, since you know what restaurants you like. I stared at it for a long time, and like every time before, I said yes. I booked the table, confirmed the head count, paid the deposit, and when we got there, my mom said the mimosas were too sweet, and my dad asked if I could take photos of everyone at the table, but never handed me the camera so I could be in any of them. That was the day I began pulling away. Not all at once, just small things. Stopped offering to pick up their dry cleaning when they visited. Started letting the group chats go unanswered for a few days. Took real vacations, the kind where I didn't bring my laptop or my guilt. No one noticed, because people don't notice when a chair shifts slightly out of place until they try to sit and fall. By the time that dinner came around, I already knew I was running on fumes. I already knew I was done being the invisible scaffolding for people who never asked how I was holding up. What I didn't know was how peaceful it would feel to finally stop holding them up at all. The first sign was confusion. 2 days after the dinner, my brother texted me, "Hey, did the Airbnb reservation glitch? It says it's been canceled." I didn't answer. Not right away. An hour later, he followed up. "We sent you the deposit for that already." That one made me laugh, because they hadn't sent me anything. They'd send it to the family PayPal, which I created, managed, and monitored, because no one else wanted to deal with the admin stuff. So I transferred the funds back. Every last dollar. I said nothing. The next day, my mother called. I let it ring. Then came the email. Subject line: "We need to talk about the holidays." No greeting. Just 5 paragraphs of thinly veiled blame. I know dinner didn't go the way you wanted it to, but canceling everyone's plans without notice isn't fair. People rely on you, Lena. You're the one who holds things together. We expect more maturity. Maturity. They always used words like that to keep me small. Like boundaries were tantrums. Like silence was immaturity. Like any move that didn't serve them made me the problem. I didn't reply. The calls kept coming. Not angry at first, just confused. Like someone misplaced a favorite tool and now had to consider doing something the hard way. Where are the hotel confirmations? Did you still want me to bring the pies for Thanksgiving? Lena, are you ghosting us? I wasn't ghosting them. Ghosting implies a disappearing act. This was a return to self. I'd spent so many years performing reliability, always saying yes, always patching the leaks, that when I stopped, it didn't just inconvenience them. It destabilized them. They'd made me the keeper of every tradition, every trip, every task they didn't want to manage. They thought if they pushed hard enough, I'd fall back in line. Instead, I was building something else. I had booked a solo cabin for Christmas. Just me, a wood stove, a stack of books, and silence that didn't come with strings attached. I didn't announce it, didn't post about it, didn't even put an out-of-office reply on my email. They weren't owed my explanation. They were finally getting what they always claimed they could handle. Life without me. I didn't plan a grand announcement. There was no family group message or carefully worded holiday memo. That would have given them power, and they'd only twist it. Call it dramatic. Call it emotional. Call it everything but what it truly was. Necessary. Instead, I started where it mattered most, the systems. I deleted the shared Google Drive that held every birthday spreadsheet, meal plan, packing list, and calendar I'd ever created for them. Gone. I closed the travel rewards accounts I'd opened in my name to book flights for people who never reimbursed me on time. Done. I removed myself from all automatic reservations, gift exchanges, and group chats that had somehow become my seasonal job. Unsue. I just reclaimed the bandwidth they were draining from me without permission. The freedom was addictive. In the past, I used a plan for 12. 12 people. 12 expectations. 12 chances to be disappointed, overlooked, or treated like staff in my own family. Now I was planning for one. Just me. I booked my holiday solo. 3 days in a quiet cabin upstate. Wood-burning fireplace. No Wi-Fi. I bought new pajamas, fresh coffee, and a small chocolate cake that I wouldn't have to share or justify. It cost less than hosting Thanksgiving had cost me the year before, but it felt like gold. A few days before Christmas, my cousin Danny messaged me privately. "Hey, just curious, are you still doing the big gift swap this year?" No one said anything. I stared at her text for a long time. Danny wasn't cruel. She was just one of the many who had gotten comfortable with me being in charge of everyone else's joy. So I replied, "No gift swap this year. I'm sitting this one out. Hope you enjoy the holidays." She sent back a sad face emoji then. "Wait, so who's going to host?" That was the moment I knew. Not one of them had even considered stepping up. They hadn't made alternate plans. They hadn't called each other. They were all waiting for the backup generator, me, to kick in. But this time, I wasn't flipping the switch. I wasn't angry anymore. Just done playing the role they assigned me. And the most beautiful part? They'd have to learn to live without the girl who used to do everything. Because I had already started learning to live without them. The unraveling started with a group chat I forgot I hadn't left yet. It was titled Holiday Master List, a thread I created 3 years ago so everyone could track flights, menus, car rentals, and guest lists in one place. It had become the default space where the entire family gathered to ask me how things were coming along. This year, it was chaos. So, who's picking up Nana from the airport? Does anyone know how to make gluten-free stuffing? Are we still doing the cabin? Or is it Grandma's house now? Wait, is anyone even bringing dessert? 30 unread messages in 2 hours. Not one tagged me directly, but every single one read like a silent scream. Where is Lena? I didn't answer. Didn't even open the app again. Instead, I made soup in silence, played music I liked, watched the snow fall outside my cabin window, and let myself feel nothing for the first time in a long time. No pressure, no obligation. No, can you just real quick? They were finally experiencing what I had been warning them about for years, that when you treat someone's labor like a guarantee, you forget it's a choice. And I had finally made mine. On Christmas Day, I got a single email from my mother. The subject line said, "So this is how you want to be?" The body of the email? Empty. I laughed out loud, closed it, archived it. No response. A few hours later, my cousin Danny posted a photo on social media. It was a dining table, poorly set, slumped paper plates, one foil tray of stuffing, and a mismatched set of serving spoons. No centerpiece, no candles, no order. The caption read, "This year's Thanksgiving-style Christmas was a bit improvised. Where's the usual spread? Did Lena not host this year? Looks like y'all missed your MVP." That one. That last one. I screenshotted it. Not to gloat. To remember. Because the truth is, I had always wondered if I was imagining it, the weight I carried, the work I did, the roles I was quietly assigned and never thanked for. But I wasn't imagining it. And I wasn't invisible. I was just used. Until I stopped letting them. And now, they were learning. Not through lectures. Not through revenge. But through a silence so unfamiliar it echoed. And I was learning too, that the world doesn't end when you stop over-functioning for people who never ask how you're doing. It just starts to get really quiet. And then it starts to feel like peace. By New Year's Eve, the text shifted tone. Gone was the passive sarcasm. Gone were the just checking in excuses. What came next was pure panic. My brother, who once joked that I had nothing better to do than organize everyone's lives, sent me a long message. "Hey, can we talk? I think we all kind of screwed up. I didn't realize how much stuff you handled until nobody else knew what was going on. People are fighting. Mom's upset. I think she thought you'd come around." I read it twice. Then I muted the thread because he was right, they didn't realize. Not because they weren't capable, but because they were never forced to be. They let me carry the weight because it was easier. And now they were tripping over everything I used to silently clean up behind them. Later that week, I got a voicemail from my mother. Her voice was tight, that particular kind of calm she used when she wanted to sound composed, but couldn't quite hide the resentment. "I don't know what game you think you're playing, Lena, but you made your point. We get it. Enough now. The family needs to come together." It was almost funny. Come together? I'd spent my entire adult life trying to keep this family from falling apart. They just didn't like what it looked like without me holding the seams shut. My cousin Danny, bless her, was the only one who tried with real honesty. She messaged me the week after the holidays. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry for not noticing, for not helping more. I think we all got used to you being the default, and we didn't realize how heavy that must have been." I stared at the message for a long time. And I cried, because even though it wasn't dramatic, and even though it wasn't from the people who hurt me the most, it was the first time anyone had acknowledged it. The work, the emotional labor, the exhaustion. I didn't respond right away. I wanted to sit with the moment, not to forgive, not yet, but to breathe, because something inside me had shifted. I wasn't looking for apologies anymore. I wasn't trying to fix what broke. I wasn't trying to teach them a lesson. This wasn't about revenge. It was about release. Letting go of the version of myself that always over-delivered, always smoothed the sharp edges, always took the hits so no one else had to feel the discomfort. They were feeling it now. All of it. And I was feeling something else entirely. Peace. January was the quietest month I can remember. No calls. No group messages. No last-minute favors disguised as, "We were just hoping you could." And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. I felt untethered. I took long walks without checking my phone. I bought fresh flowers for my kitchen table, not to impress guests, but because I liked the way they looked in the morning light. I cooked meals that didn't need to impress anyone. Some of them were amazing. Some of them were burnt. I smiled either way, because finally no one was watching. And it turns out I still like taking care of things. I still keep my calendar color-coded. Still fold my laundry with care. Still send thank you notes when someone does something kind. But now, I do it for me. I started therapy. Not because I was broken, but because I'd spent so long being the strong one that I never learned how to be supported. My therapist asked me once, "When did you learn that love had to be earned?" And I didn't have an answer, only a memory of tying my shoes faster than anyone else in kindergarten so I wouldn't get yelled at for making us late. Only a dozen holidays spent trying to cook love into every meal, praying someone would taste it and say, "We see you." But they never did. And now, I no longer needed them to. By February, I joined a local women's hiking group. Just a dozen women, all ages, who met once a week to walk a trail and talk about anything but work, husbands, or family drama. We talked about books, about birds, about how good it feels to breathe air that doesn't come with expectations. I told them my story, bits of it, not as a victim, but as someone who made a clean exit. One of them, a woman in her 60s, nodded and said, "You didn't leave. You just came home to yourself." That stuck with me, so I wrote it down, hung it on my fridge. Every morning, I read it like a vow. And every morning, I remembered. I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. I'm better. I still get messages from time to time. Birthdays. Check-ins. The occasional guilt-dipped attempt to reconnect. I don't block them, but I don't respond, because healing doesn't require confrontation. Just closure, even if you write it yourself. And I did. With every unspoken no. With every plan made without their approval. With every breath taken in peace. This is my rise. Not loud, not public, but powerful and permanent. I still have the apron. The one I took off that night when no one defended me. When the food I cooked was ridiculed and my silence was mistaken for weakness. It's folded in the back of a drawer now. Clean, untouched. Not because I'm ashamed of it, but because I keep it like a relic, a reminder of who I used to be. The girl who thought love was something you earned through labor. Who thought devotion meant doing everything alone. She's gone now. And in her place, a woman who knows the difference between being needed and being valued. Sometimes I think about the holidays they're still trying to recreate without me. I picture them gathered around paper plates, forgetting ingredients, bickering about times and rides, and who was supposed to bring what. I imagine the awkward silences, the empty seat at the table no one talks about. I don't smile at the thought. I don't need to, because this isn't about revenge. It's about relief. The relief of walking away before you become unrecognizable to yourself, of choosing quiet dignity over desperate approval, of finally realizing that absence isn't always loss. Sometimes it's freedom. The cabin I stayed in that Christmas, I go back every year now, not because I'm hiding, but because it became mine. My tradition, my rhythm, my peace. I bring books, candles, soft sweaters. I make meals for one, and they taste better than anything I ever cooked for 12 ungrateful mouths. Because now, every bite is a thank you to myself. Danny still checks in sometimes. She's different now. Quieter. Kinder. She once sent me a photo of her own solo holiday, captioned, "You help me see I don't need to bleed for connection." Thank you. I didn't know what to say, so I just typed, "Me neither." Because that's the truth. I'm not cold. I'm not cruel. I just stopped volunteering for my own exhaustion, and they can tell their version of the story however they want. That I overreacted. That I isolated myself. That I cut everyone off. Let them, because I'll tell mine too. And mine ends with a woman sitting by a window, sipping tea, listening to the wind move through trees, not because she's alone, but because she chose to be.